is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas on the city's website. All items appearing on the consent agenda are voted on in one motion and vote. Generally, these items are routine in nature and do not require discussion. All items listed under unfinished business or new business are voted on separately. First, councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments. Once all councilors have had an opportunity to speak, citizens will be given an opportunity for comments or questions. Citizens must identify themselves. Each citizen will be allowed one opportunity to speak and will be limited to 3 minutes. Finally, the councilors will be given another opportunity to speak or comment. Citizens who would like to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have an opportunity to do so at the end of the meeting under the public comments section of the agenda. Go through Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball.
All right. Let's see. And a disclosure of conflict of interest.
Oh, I have one. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yep. And that's the one with KV Cap.
All right. Let's see. Let's go. Waiver of cloture.
So moved. Can't hear
Yes.
you. Can't hear you, Thomas.
Are we taking these items up at the beginning of the meeting? Is this a discussion? Like, what's going on?
You need to vote to waive cloture on any or all of these items, and there are 3 of them, I believe, at this stage. Patty can tell you what they are. And once you've voted to waive cloture, those that have passed on that motion will be taken up at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
Shall I read the items to be considered for waiver of cloture?
Please, Patty.
Resolution 119, 2021 is referral to the planning board for a property at 101 Webb Road. Resolution 120, 2021 is appointing members to the Fair Hearing Authority. And Order 121, 2021 is to accept and appropriate grant funds for the Alpha Municipal Pool.
All right, so I'd make a motion to waive cloture to add those 3 items to the agenda.
I will second that.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yeah.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Mayor, if I may interrupt just for a quick second. Patty, I don't have 121, and I looked in the shared folder. I didn't see it in there. Can you forward that on to me real quick?
I can.
Thank you.
Did other councilors receive it? Were the other councilors able to get it?
It's not in the shared folder.
Okay, my apologies. I will send that. Sent items.
Okay, so the grant funds one for the pool is in there, and the solar panel one is in there. The other one is not.
It just came through email.
Right, but that's the grant fund one. That's what we already have in the shared folder.
Oh, I
Oh, that was in the shared area?
It is. It was the 3rd one.
Right.
So the solar one is there, and the grant acceptance of grant funds one is there.
All set. All I'm gonna give her another minute. We good, Patty?
Yes.
All right. Can I get approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera. Council Olivera.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Okay.
Councilor Klepak.
Yep.
Councilor Green,
Yes.
Councilor Foss,
Yes.
Councilor Frankie,
Yes.
Councilor Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Order 103, 2021.
Are we going to do the manager's report?
I skipped right over that. Yep, go ahead. Sorry about that, Steve.
That's okay. Just a very quick item, a couple of quick items. If you've been around City Hall in the past several days, you might notice that there's something missing. And it used to be called the Stearns Building. All but one wall of it is down at this point, and they're moving the material out. As far as City Hall is concerned, though, you all know that we've been closed since a week ago Friday. We'll be opening the doors to the public again tomorrow morning. All of the testing that we've done on city staff has proven negative with regard to COVID-19, and we're back in business. I want to publicly thank the town of Winslow, who has been covering our vehicle registration obligations all through this period of time. We did the same for them probably a couple of months ago, and I'm grateful that they were able and willing to back up Waterville. Matt Skane is with us tonight to talk about a new program over at Quarry Road Recreation Area, and also to update everybody on the food waste collection program.
Patty, can we bring Matt in, please?
Okay, am I on?
We got you. We hear you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for having me. So yeah, first, we're very excited to be offering a new program at Quarry Road, disc golf. We've been, looking at this program over the last 3 or 4 years. Our new program director, well, he's not so new now. He's been with us for about 1.5 years, Justin Farashedian. He did a lot of research on this. He provided me with everything that I needed in order to make the investment on the city's behalf. As far as the equipment goes, we're splitting the equipment with the Friends of Quarry Road, upwards of $8,500 for the baskets and tee pads. And all of the data that he provided, it illustrates that this investment is going to pay itself back in a very short order of time. We're hoping in the first year or two, and after that, it'll be great revenue coming in to help support the programs and staff at Quarry Road. Happy to take any questions. The existing infrastructure that we have out there with the trails and the buildings are perfectly set up for this program. So we feel very positive and optimistic about it.
Matt, I only have one question. Can I get the first season pass?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
All right. That's all I want.
It's a great sport. If you haven't played it before, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, I love playing. It's one of my favorite pastimes.
Awesome.
Councilor Frankie.
I just wondered, Matt, if you had shared the information that you shared with us with the newspaper, or is there going to be a later story in the paper to let the public know exactly what's going on?
Right. I really wanted to get through this meeting first, Counselor, to kind of, just get a informal nod from you folks that it is a new program, generating revenue. So, if there's no pushback from you all, and I didn't expect there would be, we're going to hopefully get with Sentinel soon and push it out on Facebook and on the city's website.
Councilor Klepak. And then Councilor Green.
Hey, Matt, what good news. I'm excited. Our investment in Justin is paying off. What an awesome individual he is. I'm excited he's out there. What part of the park is it going to be in?
Well, the first 9 holes are going to be mostly out in the meadows, the 2 open meadows near the Welcome Center, and then the second 9 are going to be up along North Coons primarily, on and off the trail, in and out of the woods. We won't have to remove many trees at all. You know, Justin did a lot of investigating, and it's right in keeping with the environment as it exists.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next question I had: How is so you say revenue generated? People will come to the Welcome Center and buy tickets. Are we going to have to? Is that going to be manned by like Friends of Quarry Road, or how is that all going to happen?
Yeah, we're expecting to find staff for the weekends, possibly Fridays too. But as I mentioned in the memo, this program is, the people that play it are used to, honoring the honor system, if you will. We'll have cash donation boxes. We've got a cash box right in the door at the Welcome Center. So we're going to kind of play it by ear, Counselor, to see, when we're busiest, we want someone there. But then, during the week, early week, I think, we'll trust people to, to make the right choices and pay. We'll monitor it here and there, though. Justin will be out there.
Great. No, I like that. I like that there's more monitoring during peak days, and then for people who, for whatever reason, want to live by the honor system on a Monday, they can play.
Thank you.
Hey, Matt, quick question. Side note,
Really?
why does that gate not get locked at night or closed? I live right by it. Like, there's people going down there like all hours of the night. And I'm like, I don't know if there's nighttime activities that go down at Quarry Road, but yeah, it's a pretty popular place.
Yeah, we've considered doing that before, Councilor Morris, and we have. If you're talking about the gate at the maintenance building, we haven't had any trouble from the end of pavement into the maintenance building. So if you're talking about which gate are you talking about first of all?
The at the end of the pavement. I mean, people scream down there, and
right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's something that we could look back at. We just haven't had much trouble out there. PD does a nice job of patrolling the area. Yeah.
Okay.
Councilor Green?
Yeah, thank you. I also think it's an exciting addition to recreation opportunities in the area, and a nice use of in the off ski season. Just looking at the map and being somebody, I don't play disc golf, but I do like to walk at Quarry Road. So just wondering how others using the facilities will mesh with this course.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, Justin and I went to Pineland, where they have a very similar situation where, the area was built around Nordic skiing and multi-use trails, and they incorporated disc golf, I think they said 6 or 7 years ago. And they're doing great on the revenue side, by the way. Yeah, mostly signage, Councilor Green, in educating the public on, kind of where the holes are and, to be looking out for those activities. But they didn't report any problems with casual walking or people jogging or running. Of course, when we have, the Quarry Road race series out there, we won't have disc golf at that time. We'll have to shut it down and we'll let folks know. But they didn't have problems at Pineland, so we don't anticipate those problems.
Okay, so you're saying people could be able to walk all of those trails with the activity with the disc golfers?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it shouldn't negatively. I mean, in some instances, I'm sure it will, but I don't see it becoming a big problem.
And if I'm not mistaken, Matt, given the area that you said it will actually be situated in the park, all of the stream front trails will be unimpacted, as well as all of the stuff on the heights up above, like Devil's Armchair there, and all of the South Coons. There's quite a bit of trails that will not be part of that.
Right, that's correct.
And duck. Everybody should learn to duck. Any other questions? Seeing none in the public. Patty, can I get a roll call? Oh, there is no roll call. Not a vote. All right. We're good there. Matt, thank you for explaining that. I'm excited. Please let me know when it's done so I can go out there.
You bet.
The
Yes,
food
on the
waste
second-
program.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, waste food.
Food waste.
Right. Yeah. Just a quick update. I won't say we're a little bit behind, although we might have wanted to have started by now, but we're still aiming for the first week of June. I just heard from the Mitchell Center today that it may not be the day after Memorial Day. It might be mid-late week, the first week of June. We did secure our site at 46 Armory Road at iRecycle. And this is a pilot program. I'm optimistic that it'll work. We've got hoping to sign a contract after getting together with the city manager with AgriCycle for 4 bins to be emptied weekly. And Craig there at iRecycle is very willing to, he's open 6 days a week. He's very willing to, pull the containers in and out each night. And the city will help, if things are getting dirty or if they need to be tidied up, we'll send a few guys over there. Other than that, there's not much more to report, except that, we really want to educate the public. And Councillor Green, I'm hoping that you're still on board to help with that. The library is, right? And the executive assistant to Mr. Daly, Mary Ellen, was also going to help push things out on Facebook and through the city's website. So that's where we're at right now. Hoping, again, for the first week of June. But of course, you folks will know, when it officially launches.
Councillor Frankie, and then Councillor Green. Just so you're here.
Will it just be the one drop-off site, Matt, at this point?
Right, that's what we're going to start with. Hoping to expand, depending on if it's popular.
Councillor Green?
Yeah, I really just wanted to thank Matt for bringing this to the city. I've had a lot of enthusiasm from constituents in Ward 4 about this, and I'm really excited myself. And also just I wanted to thank the folks at iRecycle for working with the city on this, and hopefully we'll do good for the environment and save some money for the city as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got 4 kids. I'm going to save a lot of money on food waste. Eric Thomas.
This is really more for councilor updates, but since we're talking about food waste, it seems appropriate to bring it up now. And I've had a conversation with a few people about this, but just so people know, I've been in conversations with Garbage to Garden, which is a company that does a fee-for-service curbside composting. And we're talking about ways in which we could possibly work with them to bring their service into Waterville. So I think that would be a great addition to the drop-off sites. And so there'll be hopefully some more information coming on that soon. I think one of our meetings in June, it'll probably be a discussion.
Anyone else? All right. Now we're going to move on to... Did you guys approve the consent agenda? No, I forgot. All right. So now we're moving on unfinished business.
I would make a motion to take all items on the agenda by title only.
I will second that.
Can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yeah.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Order 103, 2021.
An order providing for amendment to Lockwood Mills Municipal Development and Tax Increment Financing District and related development program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Did we lose him?
Council
Where'd he go?
Morris,
We can't hear you, Mike.
Sorry. Yes.
Council Oliveira. Was that a yes, Council Oliveira?
Yes.
Thank you. Council Klepak,
You bet.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas,
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to Order 104, 2021.
An order providing for amendment to Lockwood Mills Apartments Affordable Housing Development and Increment Financing District and related development program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris? Council Morris, you're muted.
Yes.
Councilor Oliveira? Was that a yes? I'm sorry.
Yes, my phone. Let me make sure.
Sorry.
Yes.
Councilor Clepat?
Absolutely. Yes.
Councilor Green? Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Councilor Frankie?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to Resolution 105, 2021. Patty, can you bring Ken Walsh in, please?
Yes.
And are we bringing him in with video as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Resolution 105 is a resolution providing for support for Alphon Youth and Community Center.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Sure, there'll be plenty of discussion, but I'm going to give Ken a chance to talk here. There he is.
There I am.
Thank
Hey,
you.
good evening.
Evening.
So I think last time I gave a quick overview of the type of programs the allocation would go towards. I know one of the councilors asked, what are the immediate needs? And I would say right away, licensed childcare. So we're the largest licensed childcare provider in the state of Maine, licensed up to 250 kids per day. And part of our mission at the Alphon Youth and Community Center is to make sure there's no obstacles for anybody to participate. So I would see the allocations going towards that direct need in Waterville residents, those who are in K through 8, to have that opportunity during out-of-school time to utilize our services and provide a voucher type of program where we know that these dollars are Waterville allocation dollars and they come in according to their needs, sliding scale, or our counselors working with individual moms or dads or both to figure out, or grandparents, because we have a lot of grandparents that oversee kids, to give them the opportunity. It would also include the food insecurity that's going on in this community, to provide the free hot meals that we're doing, along with the backpack program on the weekend. And right now, we're providing about 120 backpacks to families every Friday. And I'm assuming this new school year, when the pandemic hopefully comes to a close sooner than later, our numbers are going to increase accordingly as well. So this would be all directed towards Waterville residents. And we would focus on that, and we'd have a paper trail so everybody would know what those dollars are going towards directly.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken. I'll let out some questions, and then I can. Councilor Foss.
Mayor, where are these dollars coming from specifically?
So these dollars will come specifically from TIF funds. So as we had probably discussed, I think that at some point after this discussion, we'll have to make a motion to amend what it says to ensure that it says TIF funds. This is not coming out of the general funds. This is absolutely economic development. It's about keeping parents at work. I want to, I got to just put this out there. It's my fault at the last meeting that you guys didn't have all the information that you needed. I got overzealous and went to the partners that had a proven track record in our community. For a good part of a decade, we haven't really partnered up with the organizations in our community. I am looking to change some of that. I hope that some of you come along with me. I need you to. This is a group effort. I approached Ken and his organization, along with KV Cap, which we will talk about here in a little bit. These were ideas that I had specifically for Waterville's children. I'm not trying to exclude any other organizations in our town. These were just the ones that I knew would help open the door to these conversations. And I am hopeful that in the future, I will be able to bring you a committee that will vet some of this stuff ahead of time for you so that you get all the information that you need ahead of time. As I've discussed, this isn't where I'm done. I've already reached out to state representatives. I am looking for funding to create a veterans home right here in Waterville. We will spend quite a bit of time trying to get and partner with the right organizations to make sure that the services that we can't provide, that we are helping these institutions provide those services so that we can keep people and kids off the streets so that they have somewhere safe to go, eat a meal, get home, help with their homework. This will pay dividends in the future. And again, no general funds are going to be used. It's not going to increase the tax burden. It's all TIF funding. Anyone else? Councilor Foss, and then Eric.
Do you have a specific TIF that you're targeting to bring this funding out of?
No, I would leave that to Steve, and Eric may have an idea on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and weigh in on that, and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong. One of the things we found as we were going through our finance committee meetings, and we've been sort of, cleaning up the books of the city, and we found that we had, between what's already in the bank and what'll be in the bank after the end of this budget year, we had about $450,000 in TIF funds that were not allocated to anything across all of our TIF districts. And so the idea really is that the funds will come from those unallocated TIF funds. And that'll allow us to continue direct the funds that were already earmarked to the things that they had been earmarked for. And then the plan is still to direct most of the the new city center TIF funds towards paving projects. So it won't tie up any of those dollars either. This is really money that we either already have in the bank or are anticipating coming into our TIF accounts in this budget year. And Steve can probably speak to that more.
Go ahead, Steve, and then back to Rick.
You're muted, Steve.
To add a footnote to that, all of the TIF programs are written in such a way that they capture a number of different uses that are not perfectly specific to that particular TIF. So we have a lot of flexibility in that regard. And also, you may remember previous discussions about the use of TIF money. It can be used for economic development and other purposes within the TIF district itself, but it can also be used for economic development purposes outside the TIF district. So we really have a lot of flexibility, and we just haven't pinned it down to which specific TIF is going to fund that.
Okay. So with that information, tonight we are voting on $10,000 out of the unallocated TIF funds for 1 year. Am I correct in saying that?
I believe it was 3 years. We will have to make that amendment if it's not, but I believe it's supposed to be 3 years.
Yes, as it reads, it's 1 year, but it was intended to be a 3-year commitment.
Claude, Councilor Frankie.
Since we're in the process of it sounds like we're in the process of redesigning the TIF operation. Maybe it would be better just to go ahead and do it for 1 year, and once we get reorganized, then we can look at long-term funding for a variety of. We're talking about a committee to look at other organizations as well. I think maybe we should just go ahead and move slowly, get organized, and try to do things the right way.
I appreciate that input. Councillor Foss.
I would second that emotion of that, and I will offer that as an amendment to this resolution for 1 year at $10,000 out of the TIF funds that are unallocated. So I'll make that an official amendment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Patty, can I get a roll call on that?
Do you want a discussion
Is
on
there
that?
any
No?
discussion?
Oh, sorry. Do you want to somebody want to discuss the amendment?
Yeah, I had a question, Madam.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're gonna amend that, and then every year do we have to vote on it?
So next year, by next year, we'll probably have all of our ducks in order. This is just to move it forward so we can at least test it out this year and see how it goes. And then next year, you'll have the opportunity to either vote on it for another year or add an additional year to it.
Okay.
Councilor Green.
Thank you. I just, I want to thank you, Jay, for your enthusiasm in supporting our nonprofits. I think it's really important, and never more so than now with the year that we've had, and they do provide so many services for the city. I am certainly in support of allocating funds for the Alphon Youth Center and for others. I just want to, for the record, express my ongoing. I mean, we haven't seen the committee proposal yet, but to me, that's a very important mechanism to introduce so that there is a fair and transparent process for all nonprofits. And so I look forward to setting that up. I think that it will allow us to really consider the merit and more deliberate in how we allocate things.
Agreed. And like I said, I will send that to you for your approval at the next meeting.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Councilor Foss.
If I may address Mr. Walsh directly.
Please.
Ken, I would love to see how utilized this is coming when this time comes next year. If this was a smashing success or a horrible failure, or what things drove it to either one, and such like that. Just so you're prepared for next year. Okay.
Yeah. So, Councilor, I think what you'll find is that $10,000 is going to be used up quite rapidly.
Right.
Plus the needs in the community. The licensed childcare program alone is close to $1 million of an operation. And if you look at 80% of those kids qualify for free and reduced lunch programs that we've been doing it all along, that those $10,000 is going to go for a really good use. And what I want to figure out, and maybe talk to a few counselors, maybe Matt, maybe a few other people, what they think might be the best use of the funds for the license program in their perspective. Is it public housing? Is it individuals that we could partner with, that they, the city knows, maybe the police officers? So, I want to get my head wrapped around what the best use may be, Councilor Foss.
Thank you.
Councilor Kleepak.
Thank you. I first of all wanted to say that I agree with Councilor Green. I have absolutely no problem with the purpose here. Even if this was coming out of general funds, with 16,500 citizens in Waterville, 26.5% are children. That leaves about 82 cents for every adult in the city of Waterville for the coming year. It's an incredibly small amount of money that we're making can work for this huge operating budget for this program. So this is really a drop in the bucket. In general, I would support more money than this for this kind of program. However, my concern is not with purpose, it's with process. I want to get the money in Ken's hands. I think it's a good use for these funds. But we're all aware that there's a pretty large NGO landscape here in Waterville. And I think it needs to be, as Councilor Green said, a fair, transparent process that avoids, that just keeps it clean. It keeps it a very clean process. So, I can go along with this resolution tonight because I do think $10,000 is kind of a drop in the bucket, and we've got all of these undesignated TIF funds here. But I really would like to see a better formalism around getting funds into, using funds for, we're lucky to have all these nonprofits, but getting a process for making sure that money is getting in to those hands to the best effect, so that other people who have legitimate needs in the community can have some sort of process for availing themselves of those funds. So I really think that Councilor Green's point is important on this.
And Councilor Kleepak, you're correct. Like I said, I've had discussions with Councilor Green. My intent with this in the beginning is that as a city, these partners wouldn't have come to us had we not have knocked on their door. I think for the last decade, they've essentially known that the city funding was off limits to them. We weren't going to sort of help out in any which way. I think it was important that we went out and had some of these conversations. It really started with KV Cap. In our budget, KV Cap had $6,100 allocated. And that's when the light bulb went off to give them an extra $8,900 to sort of kickstart that bus program and get some extra funding for them. My idea was to always have a committee and a process for others. The one thing I will say about the way that this has transpired is we've actually had people reach out now because they feel like the city is willing to partner up. And I think that's an important aspect of this. I believe that as time goes on, we will have a process. Councilor Green is a fantastic grant writer. She's going to help figure out some of this stuff. I'm going to lean on her a lot. But yes, I think going forward, we'll have a better transparent process. This was just the kickstarting of sort of getting out there and having these discussions with people. And I don't want anybody to feel like they were left out. I literally went after the lowest hanging fruit that I could think of just to get this conversation started. Anyone else? Derek?
I was just going to say, unless there's discussion on the amendment, we should vote on the amendment and then return to the fuller discussion.
Patty, can I get a roll call on the amendment?
Councilor Morris?
Yes.
Councilor Oliveira?
Yes.
Councilor Kleepak?
I'm sorry to clarify, remind me again now that the amendment is to take this funding year by year rather than a 3-year lump?
That is correct.
Also to specify it's coming from TIF funds.
Oh, and to specify that. I think that's good. Yeah, all right. Yes.
Councilor Green?
That was a silent yes, but her mute's on.
Yes. Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Councilor Frankie?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
I'll move as amended.
I will second.
I think we have public comment. Patty, can you bring Phil Boffier in?
Yes.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councilors. Good evening, Mr. Walsh. I'm Phil Booth here from Ward 2. First time I heard about this, I mean, at first I was very excited, and that the mayor, took the initiative to kind of kickstart something, and the discussion about helping a nonprofit, which they need. They need the help from our city. And I started talking with individuals, and people are reaching out to me, and some people started raising questions, and the mayor kind of answered one of those questions today, like, why these particular, nonprofit? Why not some others, right? And Councilor Kleepak talked about it, process. The process of this particular resolution is not fair. It's not transparent. And that's precisely the reason why you should vote against it. And you should then start a committee to make sure that the process is fair and transparent. Why? Because $10,000 is a drop in the bucket for the Alphon Youth Center. But $10,000, that's a lot of money for Half Pint daycare program, or the Hungry Little Caterpillar daycare program in Waterville, right? So if we're thinking about helping a nonprofit, if we want to really make a bigger impact, why not create a situation that helps the lower hanging fruit, which are actually the poor? Why not the South End Teen Center? Why not give them $10,000? So that's why I think that the council should really, reconsider going forward with this resolution, because now we have people in the community who are starting asking questions is this a favor that the mayor is doing for people in the community? Is there something that is there some kind of kickback that's going to be coming from that? Is there, there's people are talking, because again, the process itself, the way it's presented currently, doesn't show a fair and transparent process. I love what Mr. Walsh is doing. My daughter goes to camp at the Alphon. She does that every summer. They do a fantastic job there. They do a great job. I just believe that it would be best to set up that committee and have the nonprofit propose ideas, and for the committee to pick the best idea that would help lift all entities in the community and try to make them better, and not just help the top ones, leaving the little ones to kind of fend for themselves. Thank you.
So I will say that you spend a lot of time with conspiracy theories. Earlier this week, it was the budget meeting, minutes not being there. Now it's people trying to do other stuff that's nefarious. I find it odd that people are always reaching out to you and not the actual counselors that represent them. I will say that we have a process that we're getting there. This was to initiate. Those people that you are talking about, those other organizations, have already started to reach out, and we will have a process for them. We are not done. And I don't think that this council should continue to kick the can down the road when we have a viable partner that has a proven track record in this community. KV Cap will also be creating bus service. Unless you know another organization that will give us bus service in this city and move people from one end of the city to the other so that they can get to work, shop, or worship, I'm not sure what we're actually discussing here. Anybody else?
Was that a
Councilor Frankie?
Anna's got her hand up too.
Oh, who?
Anna Holden there from the South End Teen Center.
Oh.
But we can go to Councilor Frankie first.
Sorry, Claude. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to respond to Phil and say that to echo Jay, that we're planning on much more involvement with the nonprofits in town, and the fact that we put things off for 2 weeks from the last meeting has generated a substantial amount of comment. And I think Jay and particularly Rebecca Green have really moved this forward so that we will have the kind of process that you're looking for. Phil. Give us a chance to get our ducks lined up, but I don't see any particular reason not to move forward at this point with this particular resolution.
Appreciate that, Claude. Patty, can we move in Anna Holdner?
Yes. Hi, Anna, can you hear us?
Oh, I can. Can you hear me?
Hi there. Yes, you can.
So tonight I'm not representing the teen center. I'm representing the South End Neighborhood Association and South End residents. I want to thank the city for reaching out to the Alphon Youth Center, who really honestly provides so much vital programming for the residents of the South End neighborhood, or the South End neighborhood, period. They provide, they provided meals to our families last year when the pandemic hit. They provide meals through the South End Teen Center, which is a Boys and Girls Club site, to a lot of the families who have teens that are members there. And honestly, I almost wish that I could have spoken up before when the amendment was getting voted on, because the money that the Alphon Youth Center receives, they are able to make it stretch in ways that reaches all corners of the Waterville community. And I would love to see this get approved for the full 3 years, especially as it pertains to the Alphon Youth Center.
Thank you, Anna, for speaking up. I don't see any other comments. Any other counselors? Counselor Oliveira and then Counselor Klepak.
Am I on mute? Oh, okay. I just want to say, first, thank you very much for Kent Walsh for coming in today and speaking about the different things that they do at the after school program. And also, and the reason why I am so in favor of this, it's also because of what Ann just brought up, is that last year during the pandemic, the only place that was giving out hot meal, it was the Alphon Center. Like a lot of people leaned on the Alphon Center for when something like that hits in the community. So I am fully in support of the 3 years, but I understand because this is such a new process. We didn't have this in Waterville. Taking a step by step of doing it 1 year at a time, it's also appropriate. But I do feel like it needs to be funded for 3 years. And I'm fully in support of it.
Counselor Klepak.
So in response to Counselor Oliveira and Ms. Holdner, I think just thinking about this amendment and the fact that it is now for 1 year, I think that, as Claude said, this can be a good way for us to, and Jay has said, get the ball rolling for 1 year. No one here is disputing the fact that the AYC, the Waterville is not incredibly fortunate to have the AYC in town. We get it moving for a year, set up a proper process, and once that is in place, the AYC certainly is going to be an exceptionally competitive participant in that process. They may end up getting more than $10,000 for $30,000 for the next 3 years here, if we are able to set up a more rigorous process for getting this. This actually, having the amendment this way, could be more beneficial to the AYC. Secondly, I've had constituents email me a number of one constituent raising concerns about this is a constituent that doesn't like tax dollars going to NGOs or whatever, but in the amendment, having the money specifically be undesignated funds from TIFs, I think adequately addresses the concerns of those kinds of constituents as well. So I actually think the amendment that we just made is potentially a really good thing in the long run here.
I appreciate that, Councilor Klepak. Anyone else? All right, Patty, seeing none, can I move to a roll call?
Mr. Bofia has his hand raised. Would you like to allow him another opportunity for questions or comments, or would you like me to do the roll call?
No, we'll move on to roll call. He's had his moment for this.
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Oliveira,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
You're muted, for Claude.
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Ken, thanks for the presentation.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And again, more than willing to work with you all and talk about the process. I've worked with a lot of foundations, as you know. And if I could be of help, I'm a Waterville citizen. And if I could volunteer my services to the city as well to help with that structure, I'd be more than happy.
Thank you, Ken.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ken.
Take care.
All right. Moving on to 106-2021.
A resolution providing for support for Central Maine Growth Council.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Councilor Frankie and then Councilor Foss.
I'd like to table this. However, I would be happy to have any discussion about it before we table. But my sense is that we should think things over exactly how we want to go about economic development. I think it's a little bit larger conversation, and instead of allocating $100,000 to the Growth Council, maybe there's a better way to put things together. Like I say, I think this is something that we might want to have a little more discussion, give a little more thought to.
I'll second that.
Are we holding off on the tabling before we have the conversation?
Garvin is here to present.
Yes.
Let's let him make his presentation.
Yeah, so there wasn't a motion to table, Rick. That was just a thought to open the discussion.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we'll bring Garvin in so he can have a discussion with us. Thank you, guys.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, Garvin.
Garvin. Good evening. If it's all right, I thought maybe I would share my screen just momentarily here.
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Do folks see just an intro slide there?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, great. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council Chair, Councilors Steve, Patty, and members of the public. Again, good evening. Garvin Dunnigan, Director of Planning, Innovation, Economic Development. And with me this evening, though I'm not sure if you can see them, I have some of our broader teammates, including Growth Council Board Chair, Waterville business owner Chris Gomps, as well as Kimberly Linlaw, Executive Director of the Growth Council. I'll keep my, per request, my comments brief this evening, but maybe just a quick thumbnail sketch. Again, thank you for inviting us in this evening tonight with regards to both our normal municipal dues and partnerships, but also the potential support to hire an additional staffer, which would be 100% dedicated to Waterville economic operations. Again, I'll be brief in knowing that a little bit of a long meeting, but Central Maine Growth Council is a public-private 501c6 mission-driven economic development corporation that was created by the city and for the city as an economic development arm. First off, I would like to say, start off by saying I believe this agenda item, broadly speaking, in support for Growth Council illustrates volumes and is a representation of the city's forward-looking approach to economic development, illustrates the city's business-friendly nature, points to the unique inflection point that the city is in right now, and particularly with regards to revitalization initiatives. Similarly, the Growth Council, irregardless, is enthusiastic to continue to work with city leadership in prioritizing economic development and support for businesses in a very competitive statewide and 21st global economy, in particular as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. For the Growth Council and what you see in front of you, I'm not going to read these slides for you, but I just thought maybe for some organization and structure, is a little bit about how we do our work. We in many ways follow a regional economic development strategy, we have an economic development plan, and in front of you, you see our economic blueprint, not a list of things that would be nice to do, but a strategy. Likewise, you do see a hierarchy of our approach when it comes to economic development that is grounded in labor economics, to economic conditions, to research. For the Growth Council, it's been an extraordinarily busy, hectic, but productive year with projects that have ranged from and continue to include deploying out COVID-19 financial relief related assistance to businesses, grant writing, to ongoing work related to supporting and recruiting new and existing business growth through responding to requests for information, deploying site planning proposals, to assisting with attraction initiatives, and working on a one-on-one basis with current and prospective developers and investors. In sum, this funding would allow us to continue supporting the business community through our current work, but also increases our initiatives, grows our productivity, and drives a larger impact. Likewise, we are going to be focused on goals such as stabilizing the tax rate and certainly working with Steve to accomplish his goals as it relates to planning initiatives for the future to downtown revitalization. Lastly, I would like to encourage folks to visit our website at centralmaine.org to take a tour of press releases of businesses we work with, to an overview of projects, which also provide a nice overview. So with that said, I'd like to say thank you, and of course, happy to answer any questions.
Eric Thomas.
So I want to be clear here. This is something that I approached the Growth Council about. And so for those of you who don't know my background in Waterville, I've been involved in one way or another, I guess, for about 16 or 17 years now. It started out with volunteering on some committees at Waterville Main Street, progressed to being on the board of Waterville Main Street, including 3 years as the vice president of the board of Waterville Main Street, which was the former sort of economic development arm for downtown. And from there, I moved to spend 3 years on the planning board. And then I had my first stint on the city council was 4 years, and then a break in the middle, and then my current service. And so I say all this just to say that these are the things that inform my opinion about why this is so important to Waterville. Having seen these organizations over the years, and also having seen where the Growth Council came from to where it is now, it really is night and day. And I think a lot of that is thanks to the hard work that Garvin has done, but also the restructuring of the organization. And here we have a success story. And rather than talking about standing something up at the city that, in theory they would work together, but in my experience over the years, and we've seen this over and over again, these organizations end up being more competitive with each other, and they get insular, and there's not the collaborative environment we have now has worked much better than what we had before. And so I also see this as really just a first step in where we need to go with economic development in Waterville. A lot of what we're going to be asking Steve to do, the goals we've laid out for him, the discussion in our retreat, it was all centered around economic development. That just doesn't happen on its own. We need to spend some money to make some money, as they say. And I think we need to invest in an organization that is working And then as we go through the planning process for the larger economic development plans for the city, we can have a more fulsome discussion about, changing things, how we do things on the city side, whether we do need a more robust planning department, whether we need an in-house economic development person. I think before we jump into those things, we need to have a more discussion. I think, but in the meantime, I don't want to slow things down. And certainly coming out of the pandemic, I think we're going to see economic activity, ramp up, and we want to be ready to deal with inquiries that we may get. And our long-term solution to our tax issues on the residential side in Waterville are to, increase the value of the commercial property. Commercial values in Waterville have been stagnant for quite some time. We need to move the needle on that. And I'm not ready to make this amendment yet, but this is one we can't just fund this for 1 year, because it will be impossible for them to hire somebody to come in on a 1-year contract. So, once we've had a chance to have more discussion on this one, I would like to offer an amendment to fund this for 3 years, so that we can get somebody in here, get them up to speed, and really give them a good chance to succeed. And also to assist Steve with the planning work that we're gonna be asking him to do. And so I could go on, and Garvin, maybe you could speak. A couple of the goals that we have for Steve are, one, this keeps coming up over and over again, to examine all of the zoning in Waterville. Another one is developing an economic development strategy, a broader strategy for the city. And then also, looking at the city's comprehensive plan. And I wonder if you can just speak to how this person might be able to assist in that planning process.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor. So to that point, the expanding and I'd see it as almost like a vertical and horizontal growth of expansion of services, which would of course be deployed at the city level. I would still be working, I think it's important to note, I would still be working extremely closely, of course, within the city and with this potential new employee on what would be, I think, a semblance of community and economic development related initiatives, which within there I'd include lenses and perspectives of community and urban planning, and in particular hitting our wheelhouse as it relates to land use and control issues, whether that be updates related to zoning or the comprehensive plan in conjunction with the planning office in the city of Waterville. This is something we have experience with, that we're very familiar with, and actually recently brought a community through a 2-year multi-year planning process to do updates in terms of a comprehensive plan. So yes, I see the support being very much bolt-on for Waterville, with direct oversight by Waterville, by city leadership, and by the Central Maine Growth Council's board of directors, of which Steve is also on. A little bit more beyond, and not to belabor the point, but other skill sets for said new potential employee would include hopefully exceptional written and verbal communication skills from grant writing or plan preparation, for example.
Anybody open this up?
Can we get the screen share shut off, please? Thank you, Garvin.
That makes it much easier. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Steve Daly?
I'd like to add to and support what Eric has been saying. We need to invest in the energy that Waterville has right now, especially with the downtown area. All of the different things that are happening now are happening without the city involvement, yet we can't let that continue to be the case without joining in and investing in our own future. With that, though, I think this approach is the sound thinking that needs to go into that, because we have an organization that's already stood up It's functioning. It's doing very, very well. And to invest in it in our own interest, and specifically for our own interest, is, I think, obvious to me. My experience with economic development in the past is that the one-person economic development offices of municipalities turn out to be primarily grant writers, because they don't connect well with outside sources. They don't work well with outside sources. And that goes to the point that Eric was making about them becoming competitors to other programs and organizations that are attempting to accomplish the same things. So even though I can't vote, my impetus is to throw in with the Growth Council and invest in what already works and help it work better.
Thanks, Steve. I will say that, go ahead, Rick, and then I'll talk.
No, go ahead, Mayor. I'll follow behind you.
I've had the opportunity to work with Garvin over the last couple of years. Garvin is an extremely intelligent person who knows what he's doing. He's got a good team around him. Chris Gauntz, Kim Lindloff are also fantastic people that are working as part of the Growth Council. And I think that for the City Council, some of the fears that you have, this may actually be a bridge to get you to where you want to be in a few years. It gives you the opportunity to sort of kick the tires and see if a service like this is truly what you want. I think giving Steve some extra help in the economic development is important. I think having somebody who can do planning, who can do economic development, is very attractive to the city. I've often said that I think that we should contract, and I think Steve shares this, you contract out for the professionals. You don't typically hire the professionals.
Yep.
They would be a lot more expensive than what we're looking to do here. That's all I have for right now. I'll let Rick go and Thomas Kleepak, and then can we bring Chris Gauntz in?
Yes.
I would like to hear from Chris Gauntz first before we go.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, sorry. That was quite a transition from observer to participant. Kind of felt like I was on Star Trek. I got beamed in here. So thank you for having me in here tonight. And thank you to Garvin and to Kim for the support that we've had over the years, and to the City of Waterville for all the things that they've provided us with to do the good work that we do. You know, I kind of play a dual role myself. I have a very vested interest in what happens with the city as well as the region. You know, we have 9 different buildings along the Airport Road and Kennedy Drive. And so for me, making sure that myself personally, we help do the things that stabilize the tax rate are important. That also includes some of the volunteer work that I do to try to help build the region that we need. And I guess what I've really enjoyed most is the entrepreneurial approach that we've had to economic development that protects the interests of the city and the region, but doesn't compromise a project or a business interest or a lead. You know, so much of the work that we do that is behind the scenes is very important so that we can move things along and be able to do the work that we need to do without compromising a project or an individual or a city's interest, so that we can work through it. The other thing that I've really enjoyed is the workforce and the workforce development. You know, we have helped to create close to 100 internship opportunities with local high school students who are focused on the trades through the technical education program at the local school department. So that's been a real big help to us. And it's allowed us to recognize that we can build our economy from within a lot of times and focus on the things that we have here, polish up some of those rocks to turn them into diamonds. And we've had some real good success with that. And we've leveraged that not only here, but also across the country, where Kim was invited to speak in behalf with Mid-Maine Technical Center to other technical centers about this relationship that we've created, where we link businesses with students and build the workforce from within. So it's been really, really enjoyable. And, you know, we've positioned the region by leveraging the strengths of each community, and we've eliminated overlap so that we're not competing with each other. We're finding out where each community is best suited to work and to produce results for their taxpayers. And it's really worked out quite well. So, we've enjoyed this and we'll continue to do this. And I guess I'd like to really think that you're pleased with the work that we've done in positioning Waterville as a place where things happen for the good. And you've seen some business attraction to the area, most recently on the airport road, which has been great. And like Garvin said, please go to our website and you'll see a list of those accomplishments. And we continue to look to do it and do it in a way that is accountable and relevant and beneficial to our beloved town. So thank you. That's all I have to say, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Councillor Foss and then Councillor Kleepak.
So first off, Mayor, this is much like AYCC. Where do we propose that we're going to get the funding for this?
It will be all TIF funding. Again, the same sort of unallocated funds that we have sitting there at the moment.
Okay. What's that?
I think Steve has
Hold
something to
on.
say. He's gonna make sure.
That is not from unallocated funds. That will come directly from the downtown TIF.
Okay.
Right. All right.
Sorry, I misspoke.
Before we're done with this discussion, if this is not tabled, I would add that as an amendment so that we're all aware of that's coming. Mr. Daly, is there a matrix by which we can measure the work of the Growth Council? Any way of knowing that the return on investment is there?
I think Garvin may have an answer to that.
Okay.
If it's all right, Steve?
Yeah, let him go first.
Councillor Foss, thank you for that question. Yeah, absolutely. And we are very driven by metrics and project management. So I think there's probably a number of different metrics, and we'd love to kind of chat in more detail, whether that's grants acquired, partnerships created, workforce, new businesses, etc. I think those are all pretty prototypical metrics that we certainly track and follow. And then, as Steve knows, on our board of directors, we track all leads and projects, typically through colorful Gantt charts that have project timelines and deadlines that we adjust as the project moves forward. And thus that allows for tracking of metrics more broadly from a occupational workforce and labor perspective. Work closely with our board of directors, do annual reviews of our team, etc. I hope that answered your question to a degree.
Yep.
City Manager Steve Daly.
The metrics are really good for measuring effort and activity, but the bottom line is the results of all of that. And that's what we should be ultimately looking for, which has to do with the number of companies that relocate to Waterville, get started up in Waterville, that take on building renovation or building construction in the city. Because as you know, our focus is on building the taxable value of the non-residential tax base. So the bottom line comes as to how many new businesses are there, where are they, what are they housed in, what is their taxable value. And I don't think that either Chris or Garvin would disagree with that. That's the end game.
Okay. I have one more thing, Mayor, if you will.
Yes, please.
When and if I may address Garvin one more time, you and I had a discussion about the waterfront, the Riverwalk project, and time has gone by, and I have forgotten where that ended up because it seemed like it was a shovel-ready project at that time or close to it. There was moving parts there. And Councillor Thomas, you may be able to throw in on this a little bit. Refresh my memory where we're at with that project, if it's still a project.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Faust. Number one would just highlight, the Growth Council's, in partnership with the city's deep involvement in Hedda Falls and understanding of the importance to the community, the historical importance, and the fact that that's arguably one of the city's best assets from a land control perspective. We did help secure the $600K project budget from U.S. Department of Interior, as well as a $100K Davis Conservation Fund for Riverwalk, and subsequently did, in conjunction with the city, go through an RFQ process directed by a previous council, to advertise, in essence, the land for thoughtful, right-sized development. We received responses on that RFQ or RFP type process, and there was a lot of investigation and what looked to be what would be a very large master planning process, where I believe at the time the city wanted a little bit more opportunity to continue dialogues, review other growth scenarios, and really continue to hear from the community on what their vision was for the parcel. So all to say, I would say potential development and placemaking at Hedda Falls is still a ripe but latent potential.
Councilor Thomas?
So to speak to your question, Rick, I was pretty well involved in that whole thing. And one, I would say that developer is still interested in Waterville. I don't want to go into too much detail, but they may have shifted their focus to another site. And then from my perspective, one, we ended up in the middle of COVID, so I think priorities for the development group may have changed some. But to be perfectly frank, my feeling is the city dropped the ball. And part of it was due to lack of resources on our side. And that, I think, speaks to the need for the assistant city manager position. I think at the time, the city manager couldn't give as much attention to that as perhaps we needed him to, for many reasons. And so a combination of beefing up the city manager's office and making an investment in the Growth Council, I think would have allowed us to be much more quickly reactive to the needs of the developer in order to really get that project going. Much like many things in Waterville, and you've all heard me say this over the years, we talk things to death. And that's kind of what we ended up doing to that project. We talked it to death. So like I said, hopefully the developer remains interested in Waterville, but again, making these kinds of investments in the Growth Council and in the, potentially in an assistant city manager position, I think will allow us to be much more responsive the next time around than we were this last time.
Thank you.
Councilor Klepak?
You're on
mute.
Still can't hear you.
Hi. Hi, Garvin. I want to start by saying how fortunate I feel Waterville is to have not only the Growth Council, but you in particular. I'm very happy that you're here working for Waterville. I think it's, I hold you in very high esteem. I look forward to getting to know you a little bit better after COVID passes a little more. I have a couple questions for you. So the first is if the city is to pay for it, I want you to have the resources that you need to be optimally effective. I think you do great things for the city. You're a tremendous resource. And one of my questions is, if we bring in more manpower or woman power into your office, more personnel for you. And that person is solely dedicated to Waterville. Help me understand your process a little bit more. What would happen there? Would there be the potential that, because I know you are the Central Maine Growth Council, you know, not everything in your office is exclusively about Waterville. This first question, I have three here. The first is about time partitioning. How much of your time would Waterville lose by having a person who is then solely dedicated to the city, who we're paying for one person, and perhaps we're getting that full person's attention, but then how much of your significant talents would be diverted at that point?
Thank you so much, Councilor Klepak, and I share your sentiment. And just, we have an awesome team and a great interagency team, which is a reflection of our work. Zero reduction in my time in Waterville. So that would be the simple answer there, zero loss of time. However, I would say that productivity would increase, so more valuable time spent in the city, including with an additional support person for the city and for the Growth Council, specific to Waterville operations. Thumbnail sketch, I see, and maybe I don't want to go beyond your question, but I sense it. I see that kind of the three corners being enhanced and more competitive firm recruitment to businesses outside of this, outside of the city and outside of the region, and maybe outside the state of Maine. Number two, bringing additional support on aggressive going after public finance tools and grants, which we have a good track record with that we want to build on. And then number three, that person helping supporting and leading with myself initiatives related to planning and shaping the built environment as it relates to the revitalization, growth in and around the transit corridors, and what we're seeing for some good lead activity down in Trafton Road. So zero reduction on my end, however, likely certain increase in productivity.
Then the follow up to that question, and this relates to the amendment that I believe the amendment that Eric is proposing. How long? So, you know, a person like you, to be effective, it takes a number of years to establish the community contacts, to understand the lay of the land, so to speak, to have that network. Give me a sense of that time course that it would take for a new recruit to reach the sort of optimal effectiveness that perhaps you have achieved now. What is that time? Is 3 years the right time frame to be able to assess that person's effectiveness?
Yes, I certainly believe so. I think we would learn a lot, particularly within the first 3 months, and then really kind of that honeymoon phase sunsets, and then we learn a lot within the next 6 months. But yeah, in terms of evaluating the productivity and the ability of a potential new hire, I think 3 years, we would certainly need to see productivity in a much shorter, shorter timeline than 3 years. So I'd say about 3 months, we'll get a really good idea. 6 months, I'm hoping, in conjunction with our great team, interagency collaboration, and great projects and great city department heads. I really hope that person is humming along by month 6, is fully integrated in the community, has done the dive, can rattle off the data, and knows the ins and outs from a planning perspective.
Thank you. And then lastly, as the resolution stands now, this is a proposal for 3 years, so that's 144K times 3. I guess that's for Steve. Thanks, Garvin.
And if I could just quickly weigh in, Councillor Klepak, some of the things that we really learned with Garvin's arrival on the scene here in Waterville was just how important it is to be able to spend that time to build those relationships with businesses and community leaders. And as we have grown at the council with a lot of the projects like the Build Grant and the attraction of 1.2 million for Dirigal Labs and some other things, Garvin's time has become taxed, and having that person in town to be able to continue to foster those relationships are important. So it would probably take the 3 to 6 months that Garvin is talking about. And as far as, being effective to establish the contacts, being housed or leasing our space from the chamber has been a great opportunity for us because, the businesses are right there in town as it is with Kim Linloff and her organization at the chamber. So it's a natural fit. And so one of the visions that we kind of had a couple of years ago was to try to bring all that economic development activity into one spot. So you have Maine Technology Institute there, you have Coastal Enterprises there, you have the Small Business Administration there, you have the Chamber there, and you have the Growth Council there. So having that person located right in that facility with Garvin, dedicated solely to Waterville, with the oversight from Garvin and the oversight from Kim, allows that continuity. So if Garvin is out for some visitation with a company, let's say that's a welding company that has its home office in Michigan, if Garvin's out there visiting, then Kim's able to make sure that what that person is working on continues and doesn't fall by the wayside. Having all that resource right there allows us to continue to be most effective without having a break in continuity or a lapse in service. So having it right there has been so important to us over the years, the 7 years that I've been associated with it. So we live, breathe, and die on the success of the projects that we select and choose. And those projects are selected by the council members, particularly the municipalities, because half of our funding comes from the municipalities and half comes from private business. With more coming from Waterville, then of course we're going to do with that person and Garvin more for Waterville. And that's from me as board chair.
Councillor Foss?
We are looking at a 3-year contract on this. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, with the TIF funds from the downtown district.
Okay. Councilor Thomas, if you're going to make an amendment, I would ask you to include the verbiage that the funding is coming from the downtown TIF.
Yep, and then Rebecca's had her hand up a while, Jay.
I'm sorry, Councillor Green, go ahead.
That's okay, thank you. So I just wanted to say, first of all, I wholeheartedly support funds for a new economic development person to be focused on Waterville. I think that's crucial for us at this particular moment. And as everyone has noted, Garvin and the Growth Council have done a fabulous job raising Waterville in terms of its growth and economic development. So I initially had some concerns about the position being in the Growth Council, but had a long conversation today with Garvin and Kim, and I really am now fully supporting this idea. But I wanted to just ask Garvin to speak to things that did concern me and maybe concern others. And my major reservations were how this new person would interact and interface with the city so that we have a coherent strategy and communication between the city. And then also, maybe I'll let you, if you'd answer that one, Garvin, then I'll follow up with one more.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Green. From just a governance and management perspective, just like myself, I see this as almost like a replication and a broadening of services, so that would trickle down in terms of accountability. The interface, I think, would really principally start with some of the departments we work most closely with and some of the people we work most closely with. And frankly, that's the municipal manager that we're so fortunate to work with, both in terms of on our board directly and in terms of, whether it's weekly type meetings, monthly type meetings. I see a staff person similarly doing what we've done in the past, whether that's staffing a municipal committee or certainly being on a municipal committee, being rolled up on a municipal project, whether it be a grant or a planning initiative. And then always being extremely mindful of the other incredible department heads in the city, always trying not to be too demanding. I hope we are not. And also always trying to be extremely responsive to other department heads. So I do see this as an increase and a continuity of our royal we services with frankly a lot of layers of oversight and ability to directly engage with myself and a potential new employee that we hope that this kind of public sector lens allows us to have this great ability to serve the community, but our private sector lens allows us to be very nimble and entrepreneurial while executing the objectives and goals in the city in some.
I'm going to give Claude an opportunity. And Councilor Green, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to follow up with one thing. So just on the question of oversight, my other concern is that that the city have some input in actually creating the job description so that we can really tailor this to meet our needs and including, as we've discussed, the need that the city really has generally for more grant writing expertise. So I don't know if that requires an amendment, but that is something that I feel is important to include here, that we're funding, we're providing this funding for the Growth Council, but we really, I think it's important for us to have a role in that job description.
Councilor Green, I agree with you. I think it's very important that as a city, we have an opportunity and input into the type of direction we would like this position to go and the responsibilities that we think that should entail. I'm not sure that we need an amendment for that. However, I think that the rest of you, Garvin, Chris, seem to be in agreement that that's right up your alley. That's sort of what we should be. If it's a collaboration, we're collaborating on that position together.
Absolutely. And just an editorial justice on it all.
All right.
That's been the understanding all along.
Thank you.
Councilor Frankie and then Councilor Foss. You're on mute, Claude.
Thing pops up and says you're on mute, Claude. Okay. It's been a very enlightening discussion. Thank you, Chris and Garvin, for explaining some of what the Growth Council does. And to your point, Councillor Thomas, this is definitely something that requires a great deal of discussion and thought. Now, I have to admit that I have not come to this meeting prepared. I have only read the proposal that's in front of us. I've not spoken with Garvin. I have not spoken to Chris. I have not even spoken to you, Mayor, about this particular subject. And that's why I'm suggesting that we should continue the dialogue. There's no urgency until we get down to the end of June to actually make a decision about this. So that's why I'm suggesting that we go ahead and keep talking about this. I'd like to point out that we have two brand new counselors. We have three counselors who've only been on council for a year, and we have a new city manager. Although I have to admit that the new city manager has had the opportunity to talk to the people on the Growth Council, and I certainly respect his view that this is a good direction to move in. However, I think we've had some concerns raised about exactly how things are going to be allocated and shifted around. And I'm still not convinced that we wouldn't be better off with our own person who's just responsible to Waterville, who works for Waterville. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to suggest again that we think about tabling this and keeping the discussion open for another 2 weeks.
Councillor Foss.
Councillor Thomas, if you're going to make an amendment, I'm going to suggest that we add in Councillor Green's and my needs, thoughts, and all that around this.
So that the job description would have to be approved by the city council? Is that what you're saying, Rick?
Councillor Green? Mine was the downtown TIF funding verbiage.
Yeah, I mean, my request was to have input on the job description, so
we can add that.
Well, so why don't we go ahead and deal with the amendment now? So I'll offer an amendment that this funding, both the 43.5, which represents our current support, and the additional $100,000, that those would both be for 3 years. That those monies would be allocated out of the downtown TIF, and that the city council would have to approve the job description.
I'll second that.
Councilor, City Manager Steve Daly.
Just one concern about the city council approving the job description. This is going to be an employee that works for the Growth Council, but at the same time, if you have 7 people plus 3 others, myself, Garvin, and Chris, and Kim, that's 11 people working over a job description, and I don't have a lot of confidence that that will come out to be something workable. Go ahead.
I would suggest that at this point, since it was Rebecca's idea to come up with the job description, that City Manager Steve Daly, Councillor Green, and Councillor Thomas sort of work the 3 of you together.
From the city side?
For the city side, and then bring it to the rest. I mean, we're voting on, we haven't voted yet. We're going to have to address Claude's tabling, but at least this way, the 3 of you will have the input. We trust that you're going to do what you need to do, so.
Okay. I think if we come back with the ingredients of a job description, i.e. what this person is being challenged to do on behalf of the city and how that's going to happen, I think we can satisfy the interests and needs of the council by doing that rather than delivering a verbatim job description.
Councillor Green and then Councillor Frankie.
Yeah, I believe there's already a job description in draft form, and as far
That's
as
correct.
And all that would be required would be taking a look and maybe tweaking that, not from scratch. So I don't think it would be a very complex process, but just a few things like reporting and some of the duties would be good to have.
And it looks like Garvin is very interested in that sort of collaboration, so we're good to go there. I do want to, so I'd like you guys to vote on Eric's motion, and then we have to go back to Claude so that you can get his motion up, because nobody seconded his, and I want to give an opportunity.
Well, Claude wants to speak on the amendment. Yeah.
Well, what I would prefer would be for you to withdraw the amendment. Let us continue the discussion and then do all the fixes all at one time at the next meeting. That seems to me that would be with the number of things that have been raised tonight. It seems to me we should go ahead and take some time, clear the air, get everything lined up the way it ought to be, that satisfies everybody, and generate consensus around this. So that would be my suggestion, Eric, that you hold your amendment until next meeting and then try to get everything fixed all at one time.
Eric, I think you have to hold it anyway at the moment because Claude brought up a tabling.
Yeah, but
So
there was
you
no,
have to.
he didn't make an actual motion. and
Okay,
there was no
never
second.
mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Then finish.
So I guess what I would say, if there is going to be a motion to table, we might as well get that out of the way. I'm prepared to act on this tonight. I don't think myself, I'm not sure what else I'm going to glean with another meeting. So at this, I will withdraw my amendment, and if Claude wants to make a motion to table, to postpone until the next meeting, he can make that motion, and we'll see how it falls out with the council, and then we can come back to amendments if it does not get postponed.
Well, thank you. That seems like the way to move forward. So I'll make a motion to table until the next council meeting.
Councillor Kleepak?
Is there a second first?
Oh, I thought he was seconding.
Unless it's just a procedural question.
I'll second, but I had a procedural question. I wanted to ask whether it's possible to take to put forward a motion for the sense of the council on the issue before we actually voted on the issue.
Well, first, if there's no second to the motion to postpone, then it just dies without a second. And then, if we would just be voting on postponing. So it means it's coming back at the next meeting.
If there's no second to the tabling, I don't, my point is moot.
So you would have to withdraw your second.
I withdraw my second. I'll let somebody else second that.
So I have a motion to table from Claude. I have no second.
Yeah, that's good enough for me.
All right.
So now I'll offer my amendment, which would be that these funds are for a period of 3 years, and that those monies are to be allocated from the downtown TIF. And then I guess I'll leave the language about the job description out. Is that okay with you, Rebecca?
No, I think you guys are supposed to put that in just to make some small changes to what Garvin already has.
And so the job description will be finalized in consultation with the city council and the city manager. Is that good enough?
Yep.
So that's my motion.
Second.
All right, I have a second. Can I get a roll call on the amendment, Patty?
Can't hear you, Patty.
You're muted.
The mute button is getting everybody tonight.
Sorry about that. Can I just clarify that the third piece of that was that the job description will be finalized with the city manager?
In consultation with the city manager and the city council.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Council Morris.
Yes.
Would you read the amendment as you have it now, Patty?
Yes. That is funded for a 3-year period. It's allocated from the downtown TIF funds, and that the job description will be finalized with consultation between the city manager and the city council.
Just quickly, when we talk about the downtown TIF, is that the old downtown TIF, or
Yes.
the new downtown TIF, or another?
There's only one downtown TIF.
The old downtown TIF.
Right.
The old downtown TIF. All right.
Yes.
Okay, are we all set for the roll call then?
Yes, please.
Council Morris,
Still a yes.
Council Oliveira,
Muted.
You're on mute.
Yes.
Council Kleepak,
Yeah.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Unmuted, yes. Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
No.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 1 opposed.
And now that is just on the amendment, correct, Patty?
Yes.
I'll move the resolution as amended.
Second.
We have public comment still on this.
Yeah.
So can we bring, go ahead, Patty, whatever you want to say.
Mr. Bofia has his hand raised. We'll bring him in.
All right.
There he is. Mr. Bofia, do you have a question or a comment?
Oh yeah, sorry. My this transition to a participant is kind of pretty weird. Yeah, thank you. First, one thing I want to make clear that I would like to remind the mayor that is very inappropriate for to try to use his office podium as a bully pulpit by addressing a constituent directly and not giving them a chance to respond. Very inappropriate. As far as this particular thing, like many, I've had the opportunity to work with Mr. Donegan and the Grow Council. I don't think anyone can speak negatively about the work that they have done for our community. You know, he's a great resource and a great asset for our community. And I'm happy to see that the council is in full support of the resolution because we do need this talent. This is a proven success story from a unique entity that does not roam the street of our city. And if we go back to look at the inception of the Grow Council and to where they are today, you know, it's been continuous growth and improvement over the years. And that's something that a city needs very much. You know, on top of that, he has the support of very well-seasoned and established local leaders like Chris and Kim and many others in the community. I know I'm full support of the work that Mr. Donegan does for our community and his organization because I've seen it up close like many have. This is the kind of spending that we need, you know, as a city because of the precedent of the city funding this entity and the result that they have brought to the table and the extreme, you know, productive and lucrative work that they have done and the result that they have shown over the years. And I am confident that, you know, with the addition to their team, that success is only going to grow and expand and help our city continue to help our constituents by decreasing the tax burden and making us more appealing to a whole. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion from the council? Patty, can I remove to a vote?
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Oliveira?
Yes.
Council Pupak?
Yeah.
Council Green?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Reluctantly, because I think we should talk about this some more, I'll vote yes.
Council Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right.
Thank you, councilors. I look forward to our continued work together.
Thank you, Garvin. Thank
Thanks,
you, Chris,
Garvin.
for coming out and talking
Thanks,
to us.
everybody.
Thanks, Garvin. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Moving on to Resolution 107, 2021.
A resolution providing for support for Kennebec Valley Community Action Program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Councilor Foss?
I wonder what my questions are going to be.
Yes, it's coming from the TIF. And I believe that we can do the same thing we did with the AYC. Let's get it tested. Let's see how it's going and go from there.
There you go. So I'm going to offer that amendment that we put the verbiage in there of the unallocated TIF, and that it is for 1 year trial.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Can we get Suzanne in here? Or let's see. I think Michelle Prince. I think Suzanne Walsh. I'm not sure who else is with them. Hi, Suzanne.
Hello.
Do you guys have anybody else with you, or just the two?
We had Bill Dow. If you had any.
Oh, yep. I see Bill's name. Patty, can
Yeah.
you bring Bill in also?
Yes, Bill Dow. Yep.
Great, thank you. Great.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for inviting us to your council meeting, and thank you, Mayor, and all the council members for all the support that you've given to KVCAP over many years. As you may or may not know, we've been located in Waterville since 1965. And this funding that you give us for transportation is critically important. Our public transportation system brings people to medical appointments, to shopping, to jobs, and it's much needed. We're not able to operate public transportation without without municipal or local funding. We would have to, it's required by the federal government to have that match money. So we're here to provide you with any information or questions that you might have, and really look forward to a continued partnership with Waterville that we've had for over 50 years.
All right. I'll let you start.
I just wanted to ask Suzanne, so what is this money going to be used for? And to be clear, though, we already fund you at what, $6,100 a year. So the additional funding we're talking about is $8,900.
Right. So I'll let Bill weigh in just a second. I'll just make a brief comment. As you probably can imagine, it's very costly to operate a transportation system. It is kind of a drop in the bucket, but it does help immensely with as we look at different route designs and how we make our way around the city and ensuring that we're meeting the needs of the residents of Waterville. And everything that you've talked about tonight so far around economic growth, one of the linchpins to that is transportation. And if we don't have a strong infrastructure for transportation, economic growth is not going to really truly happen the way you want it to happen. But I certainly will let Bill and Michelle weigh in on sort of those nuts and bolts of what the additional $8,900 would provide.
Yep.
All right. Bill, go ahead.
Super. First off, I just want to introduce myself to everyone. I moved from Florida a year and a half ago, and I think it's fantastic what is happening in the town of Waterville. And you can really feel and see the momentum going on. And we want to be part of that. Transportation Services wants to be part of that. So our immediate and most critical need right now is we need new vehicles. So this money would go towards the purchase of a new 12+2 bus, which costs roughly $80,000. If you see our vehicles on the road, you won't see a bus that has Explorer on the side of it, because those vehicles aren't running, because I can't get parts for them, or if I can get parts, they're back ordered and I don't know when I'm getting the parts. So I have vehicles that are at a repair shop right now that I'm stripping repair parts off of in order to Band-Aid my vehicles to keep them running. So I just want to give you a little flavor of what I'm dealing with right now and the criticality of I need the money to buy new vehicles or a new vehicle. 80% of my fleet right now on the Explorer side, and that's 9 vehicles. So basically only 2 of my 9 are vehicles that I do not need to replace right now. 7 I need to replace like tomorrow. So again, the importance, the growth, we want to do that with you. But the vehicles are also, they represent the town too. And they're tired. The vehicles are tired and I need to turn them. So that's how we would use the money.
Go ahead, Eric.
I mean, maybe this is a little off topic, and I don't know if this is even possible, but Public Works does a lot of its own fleet maintenance, and we've been very proactive in the last few years about upgrading their equipment. So they're probably not doing quite as much of it as they used to, and I don't know if there's any legalities involved, but perhaps a conversation about the way the city might support maintenance of those vehicles through Public Works might be in order.
And I will say that I do see those tired buses. The city's been kind of tired too. If you look at our roads, we're addressing those too. So hopefully your vehicles won't take as much of a beating.
That's why the buses are tired.
What was that?
That's why the buses are tired.
Yeah, I know. I will say, like I've spoken before, that I plan on bringing a committee to the city council to help identify other nonprofits. One of the other things, Bill, I would like to do is create an additional committee, a transportation committee. And I'd love you to be a part of it, to give us an opportunity to maybe find some like great routes within the city, something that goes through the major vein of the city. I've talked to other organizations already. As I've said to Suzanne, I will go knock on those doors to find you some more funding. I believe that there are opportunities with other organizations throughout the city. Take New Dimensions, for instance. They got that grassy patch right there.
Yep.
I think that'd be a great spot for a bus stop and a little bench.
Yep.
So getting somebody like an organization like that to help fund something like this, or a bus stop in that area, in my mind, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I really envision a line that goes from First Park down KMD, hits all the major little routes there, comes back out to the other side of Main Street where you get Walmart, the Hannaford, and I believe that making a route that way, we can petition and get those organizations to contribute, because we'll be moving shoppers to their locations. We'll be getting people in and around for them, workers. T-Mobile, they're bringing on 300 new jobs.
Yeah.
Listen, we can get some of your employees over there. I mean, what is a ride? $1.25? I'm sure that
Yeah.
there are going to be some great ways, but if you're amenable to that, I really want to make sure that you'd get on board with the transportation committee so we can have those sorts of
Please.
big discussions. And like I said, bring in Parks and Rec. They can help us put up signs and signage so that people
Yes.
know where the bus stops are going to be. My intent is to be a full partner in this, to make sure that we are growing it at a reasonable rate and making sure that we're able to help the residents of this city. In other communities, I'm sure you go to others and there'll be some connecting routes, but right now my focus is really moving Waterville residents around, maybe getting some residents over to the adult ed. I know that they're struggling to get people there.
Mhm.
AYC, down to your facility, the teen center, the Hathaway. We have some real opportunities to find some fantastic routes
Yeah.
that can fit Waterville, and I hope that we'll create a good partnership to make that happen. I see Councillor Klepak and Councillor Frankie.
Hey, Bill, nice to meet you. I'm glad that you're starting a new trend, or a reverse trend, of coming from Florida to Maine. That's really exciting. I'm glad that you have seen the light. So, I am thrilled to hear Mayor talk about a transportation committee. Of course, I'm a very strong advocate of public transportation and KV Cap. I am a particular strong advocate for bicycle infrastructure, and the council can expect to see me pushing that much more strongly in the future, different aspects of that. Along that lines, I think it's actually a great opportunity to replace parts of the fleet that you have there, modernize them. So I have some questions along that line. Specifically, how would it affect the budget if we were to look at electric vehicles. Is that feasible at all? And then secondly, I'll just get them all out there and you can take them all together. One of the things I love about Portland city buses that go all the way up to Brunswick, etc., they all have those awesome bike carriers on the front, those bike racks on the front. I want that in Waterville. I want to see those in Waterville. Those are really useful. They're really useful. And then the third question is, how does KVCAP, how does KVCAP formally integrate with the Waterville, the Colby shuttle system that currently is operating? Would you talk to those three issues? Thanks.
Okay. All good questions. The first question, I think, is a really good question. And I can tell you that as far as electric buses are concerned, that topic is being discussed as we sit here right now. And that topic is being pushed by Governor Mills. And it's being discussed down in Augusta. So it is, and there's a whole bunch of people behind that. A couple weeks ago, I was part of a meeting where that was discussed. So that is definitely on the table. Besides electric, fuel cell is another alternative for a zero emission transportation system. But like you said, the infrastructure is not there right now. The plug-in stations for electric, for example, hydrogen refueling stations for fuel cell, it's not there. And you know, we're not the only ones. I mean, all 50 states, it affects all 50 states. So this is all being discussed right now. But I can say that there have been some tests on electric buses or vehicles in the state of Maine. And where they don't cut really well is because of the cold weather that we have in the wintertime. And it decreases their performance, electric buses. So it's still being investigated. It's still being discussed. And so that would be my answer to your first question as far as a short, succinct answer and up-to-date information.
So the likelihood is that you're saying the new vehicles will not probably be electric because of lack of infrastructure and and what you are saying is poor performance standards for vehicles of that size in the electric. Because I actually don't know much about electric buses.
Yep, correct. No, our new vehicles that we want to purchase, they would not be electric, at least not right now. And I know that technology is expanding on the electric side, and in the future, I think we will see it, but for the immediate term, no. Yep, is that good? To answer your second question, bike racks. We do have some buses that have bike racks. However, these buses are not operating because of maintenance. But I fully agree with you that new vehicles, that we could put bike racks on these new vehicles. But again, we have some that do, but they're not operating.
Can those racks be transferred to operational vehicles?
That's what we'll look at doing. I don't know the answer to that right now, 100%, but we would definitely look at doing that. And if we had to maybe do some modifications or whatever the case may be, we could do that, I'm sure. And if not, then I think we seriously need to look at putting bike racks on these new vehicles because again, they are used, or they were being used in the past, and so I think we would want to continue to do that for sure.
Sounds like Councilor Klepek, you may want to join me on the transportation committee and find some infrastructure.
I'm in. Honestly, another question is maybe not completely germane to this small funding issue here, but I would like to know how KV Cap. So KV Cap does not currently intersect with the Portland lines that go as far north as Brunswick, right? You go as far south as Augusta. Is that right? There's this little gap. There's this gap in the state that's preventing someone from Waterville from getting to Portland right now, and I want that gap closed. I'd like to see that gap closed.
That's a big topic, and that topic continues to be discussed. And you're right. As far as our system is concerned, we go to Augusta, or we go up to Skowhegan and serve the greater Skowhegan area. But as far as if a person were to try to travel from southern Maine all the way to northern Maine on public transportation, that would not happen right now. And so one of the other ideas that we were thinking about, as far as new corridors, things like that, and everything that's happening in Waterville, one of the ideas is that we develop a corridor between Skowhegan and Waterville, passing through Fairfield, using 201. And with the growth that's happening in Waterville, we're thinking that bringing some of that population into Waterville, say for the evenings when something's going on in the town of Waterville, out of Skowhegan, during the day also. I think that we think there's opportunity there as far as new service routes are concerned. We do want to test that and to see if it is viable or not. But to answer your question, right now, there is no integrated system in the state of Maine, but it continues to be discussed.
Yeah, I think KV Cap, because of its centrality to the state, is a real linchpin to all of that. Another corridor I think that would be smart would be from Farmington through Norridge Walk down into Waterville as well. You have a college up there in Farmington, and I think that there is potential through there.
Yep.
And then lastly, just in terms of, could you just talk for a moment about the connectivity between the Colby shuttle infrastructure and KV Cap?
Yeah, good question. We actually had discussions with Colby College. I want to say the end of last year, and because of the pandemic, they needed additional vehicles to provide transportation because there were more students being housed in downtown Waterville, in the Lockwood, for example. So we were in discussions with them to offer one of our vehicles, and they pursued a different route. I think what they did is they purchased another vehicle themselves or found another vehicle or something. But I don't know the detail of that. But I know who those folks are over there, and that makes a lot of sense. But also Thomas College makes a lot of sense too. So I don't think it's just a Colby. I think it's a Thomas, and I think it's exactly what the mayor was saying. Is I think we need to seriously look at our routes, and I think we need to pop the can and look inside the can again and maybe rearrange the puzzle. So I think that those are still opportunities, and we would need to have talks with those folks. But it makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense.
Bill, I'm not bashful, so I'll say it now because we've got Amy, Colby, Thomas. We're looking for you to come help. We need it. I'll do it for you. Shameless plug. Claude.
Well, thank you for coming and talking to us. Let me just ask, I have two questions, but the first one is, how does the $15,000 that Waterville is thinking about contributing to your program fit into your overall budget? And then my second question is, are you prepared for the legislation that our state representative has presented to the legislature to provide transportation to workplaces and training sites that's not available now?
To answer your first question, we've already received the 6,100 from the city. So this additional money is not, it's not been calculated in any budget. But again, the immediate need is new vehicles or a new vehicle. So that money would be designated very, very quickly to that immediate need that we have. And the more money that we can get right now, the quicker we can make that happen. So that would be very, very beneficial for us and for the city. As far as your second question is concerned, there is a program that was talked about, and Michelle, you probably, I think what Councilor Frankie is talking about is working cars for working families. Is that the concept?
Yes, that's exactly.
Oh, the working cars for working families.
Well, no action on working cars, but public transportation for workforce and training.
Right. So the working cars for working families was a different program. So you're talking about funding that they're looking to designate for workforce type transportation.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure how that is going to intersect or would intersect with public transportation.
Right. That piece is more about private transportation and helping individuals obtain their own private vehicles or maintain the vehicle that they have so that they're able to get back and forth to work. But when you said that to me, it did make me think about that we are part of a larger network in the state of Maine. It's called the Maine Transit Association. And that group has a lobbyist and works closely with state legislation around funding for public transportation. So we're always seeking ways to increase the amount of money that comes into the state for public transportation, because it is, we're sorely underfunded in Maine, especially in rural Maine. Most of the public transit dollars go to the urban centers, Portland, Bangor. But we're we're as much in need for public transportation here in central Maine as those larger urban centers.
One thing I'd like to add is so that's how we would use the additional money right now. But in the future, the fact that we would, if we were able to receive more local funding from municipalities, including Waterville, what that actually allows us to do is then turn around and ask for more money through a grant application called a 5311, which and if we're able to provide or show that we're receiving more local funding, then we can apply for more state and federal funding. So it's a domino effect, and it's an extremely positive domino effect. So, I hope that we hope that this is the beginning, because ultimately everyone is going to benefit from this, most importantly, the community. So there is a knock-on effect with increased funding, and it's very, very positive.
Good. I hope you heard that, Tom. When you get your transportation committee going, we're going to be looking at those kinds of things, don't you think?
We will. And Bill, I will go knock on every adjoining community's door with you. I think it's important for Waterville to sort of lead the way. And if we do, I know that we can get Fairfield, Winslow, Oakland, Skowhegan. We should really figure out a way to partner up in a regional way to make sure that this is a success for our entire region. Any other counselors? All right, seeing none. Patty, you can bring in the two people from outside, Phil and Anna Holdner.
Yes.
Phil can go first.
Oh, all right. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Council. Again, I'm going to ask this question now because previously I didn't get a chance to ask this question. But my question is, we keep hearing that a committee is going to be formed. This item and the previous one have been postponed for 2 weeks. So my question is, why wasn't a committee introduced as soon as this item was postponed 2 weeks ago, right? And another question is, what would be the harm in postponing it for another 2 weeks? Is there such a pressing need that if we postpone it for 2 weeks, that something will break or we wouldn't be able to do it? It looks like we already have other organizations that are lined up, to get into, that partnership with the city. All we need is a committee to vet those organizations so that we can get the process moving. We have brilliant minds in our community. I'm pretty sure we can get that process figured out pretty quickly. So I just hope that somebody get a chance to answer those couple of questions for me, please.
So I will answer those questions for you. We spend a lot of time having conversations all the time, and we consistently kick the can down the road. I do spend a lot of time trying to get actionable intelligence, things that we can actually do. Nothing is going to stop. I welcome those other organizations to start sending in applications now. They don't have to wait for the committee to be formed. Once the committee is formed, they'll be there to look at all of those. They do not have to wait. They should start asking and looking now. As for this, again, it's about making sure that KV Cap has and knows that they are going to get these resources come July. Nobody's giving it to them today. This is for next year's budget. So again, these committees and things that we're talking about can work in conjunction at the same time. One doesn't have to come before the other. We can all walk and chew gum. I think that making everybody else wait, we've already made them wait 2 weeks. This is this is going to take multiple votes. We're going to actually, these resolutions do not. This is a one vote. When we go to fund, that will be an order that will require 2 votes. Essentially right now, all we're doing is supporting the idea. And that's pretty much what I got for now. Patty,
Just to respond.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. So I think Mr. Mayor, you just answered my question. You said it's going to be for next year's budget. So there's actually no rush in voting on these resolutions, because if it's for next year's budget, there's plenty of time for a committee to be put in place and for this item to be voted on for next year budget. If this was a need that was needed in 2 weeks, then yeah, there's a pressing need. Let's get this going. Let's get the money to the nonprofit. Again, I am in full support of the city working with nonprofit. The process is what's raising questions. And so far, nobody can tell me exactly why is it that we can't wait another couple of weeks to vote on an item that's going to be funded next year and start forming the committee.
Again,
next year starts July 1st. So we have 2 meetings. So we're not going to form a committee and go through all this and put this money in the budget in the next 2 meetings. So we're trying to allocate the money now to say, hey, listen, we want to put this money in the budget that's going to take effect on July 1st. Yeah.
If I could just say something real quick.
After Councilor Green.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Green. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to echo what Mike said about timeline. I mean, we can set up a committee by next meeting, but that committee's job is to come up with a process, which it sounds like that's what you're looking for, and that will take time, and you know, so I think in these two cases, they are organizations which are prominent and have been identified. It doesn't mean that other organizations won't get a chance. However, I would say with respect to the mayor that perhaps nonprofits should wait and see, because I imagine that the committee would come up with a process with some questions and information that we want to see from nonprofits. So I would just urge folks to be patient with the process, and it will come, and we will make sure that people have a chance to make the case for their organizations for funding.
Go ahead, you can finish now. Go, Mike. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I go ahead, Phil. Go ahead, Phil. It's okay.
Sorry, thank you, Councilor. So it seems like the concern is that the allocation of funds will not make it into next year's budget, right? So therefore, the council could vote on allocating funds that would be given to a nonprofit into next year's budget, and not specifically to a nonprofit in next year's budget. Then put in the process to then vet any nonprofit so that they can be allocated the money that would be voted on today towards a nonprofit that will be picked by a committee. I think that's a process that makes sense and makes it transparent and fair and does not raise questions in the community for an item that is not needed. The collaboration is needed, but the rush to a specific nonprofit is not needed at this time. We could vote on the money without allocating to a nonprofit, put a committee, give it to a nonprofit next year.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I mean, you know, listen, we could do a lot of things, you know, and one of the things that I hope that this committee does is, you know, find, you know, the organizations that have presented tonight more money in next year. And I think this is a foot in the door to what I hope is a bigger partnership. You know, I know that back in budgets, probably, let's see, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, like we were, I believe, donating $15,000, or not donating, but we were giving or allocating $15,000 to KB Cap, and I think over the years, you know, that amount has dwindled, you know, as we do things. And I think that, you know, for this particular organization, this is, you know, we're late in the game for this. I mean, I think we're a city of size that, and we're very expansive, and we need to be able to shuffle people from one end of the city to the other. And we need to do it rather quickly as we're trying to invest in a lot of other things, other infrastructure, other businesses, and get that workforce moving. And like giving them $8,900 to be able to, you know, start fixing buses so they can do that, I don't think needs to wait another year while we wait for someone else to ask for money.
Councilor Klepak and Councilor Thomas.
We've already hashed out this process issue earlier in the council meeting. Mr. Bafia, in terms of transparency, if you have a question about how these funds are going to be used by KB Cap beyond what's already been discussed here, you can address that directly to the people that have assembled. It's getting late. I think we're done talking about process, in my opinion.
Eric?
Chance to respond to that?
No, this is not time for citizens to chime in is not a back and forth, Phil. You say your piece and then we move on with, you know, that's not how this works. What I want to say is this is really a question about transportation. And I don't know of another organization that in the city of Waterville that does what KB Cap does. So the question is, do you want to fund public transportation? The question is not, do you want to fund this nonprofit or that nonprofit or whatever? You know, this is a little more cut and dry even than the AYCC was, because in that case, you could perhaps make an argument that there's other people who do things like childcare. But in this case, there's only one game in town. And so if we want to fund public transportation, we want to fund this organization. And there is a pressing and dire need because their vehicles are not even on the road. And if they get a commitment from us for this funding, they can start addressing that issue with the knowledge that these funds are coming to them. And so they can start moving things forward now instead of waiting 2 weeks for us to establish a committee and then come up with a process and then review all the applications. And then they're the only one in this category. So, you know, this seems really straightforward to me. And so I'm fully in support.
All right. Can we bring in Anna Holdner
to respond?
Phil, you've responded already. Patty, can you bring in Anna Holdner, please?
Yes.
So again, I want to preface, I am representing South End residents and the South End Neighborhood Association. I wanted to thank the council and the mayor for reaching out to KV Cap to discuss expanding transportation with them. As a South End resident and as somebody who has been very involved in the South End community for years, transportation is a huge barrier, not just for work, but for getting groceries, for education, for childcare. I have heard way too many families and individuals say that they've had to stop, they've had to drop out of KVCC because they couldn't get there. So the fact that this is actually a conversation that is happening, it's very encouraging, especially as we are approaching the end of another school year. And I'm hearing seniors in the neighborhood talk about, well, what are they going to do next year? So it's the fact that we are starting to address these lower income communities, or communities not even lower income, but communities that are kind of separated from the mainstream to be able to walk to numerous employment opportunities or even education institutes. It's very encouraging. And I am really excited to be able to go to my neighbor and say, hey, you don't have to spend, half of your grocery money on a taxi to be able to get to Save-A-Lot, for Pete's sakes. Like, you don't have to be trying to get barter with neighbors to be able to get your groceries, basic needs. So the fact that as soon as I heard this over Facebook, I jumped on and I had so many ideas of places, of stops, and honestly, I would be happy to sit and talk with folks about how to develop a circuit within a transportation committee that will really benefit both South End, North End, Mayflower Hill, both of the colleges and everything in between. I really encourage you folks to vote yes on giving KV Cap this money. It's really going to do a lot for South End, North End, and everyone in between.
Rick Foss.
I'm going to point of order this. I think we've had enough discussion. I think there's broad consensus. I think we know where this is going to go. So I say that we move this to a vote.
Did we make the amendment that you wanted to make? It's been so long, I can't remember.
We didn't make the amendment vote. We haven't even got through that yet.
Thank you. Claude had something to say, and then you can add the amendment.
I think Rick's right, but let me just quickly address Mr. Baffia's point that we have now put together a committee, or we're putting together a committee to address the issues that you're concerned about. And by way of explanation, not justification, let me just point out that we do have a lot of new members on this council. We have a new city manager, and I feel that we're still trying to find our feet as a council right now. And so some things have been done that might have taken more discussion. I've said that a couple of times now. I'm personally responsible for discussion on some issues that maybe are a little far afield. So bear with us, please, constituents out there. We're trying to get this together and do the best we can for the city. Even though we might stumble here and there, we're all looking out for the best for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Claude, for that. I appreciate it. All right. Eric, you going to make that amendment?
So I would offer an amendment that this is a 1-year trial and that the money is coming from unallocated TIF funds.
And I will second that. Second time.
Okay. All right. Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera is abstaining from this vote. Council Klepak,
Yep.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
I'll move the resolution as amended.
Second.
Can I get a roll call, Patty?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera. Oh, she's abstaining. I'm sorry. Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
I want to, before I move on, I want to thank the entire council. I appreciate your dialogue and your patience with me while I'm trying to get this off the ground and running. Thank you. And Suzanne and Bill, Michelle, I'll be in touch.
Great. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Order 111, 2021.
An order providing for sale of property, Common Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
Steve, we wanted us to table this again? You're muted.
Hey, Steve. Mute button.
You're muted, Steve.
Of course I was. No, I think you should adopt it tonight as the first reading. You have to do it again at the next meeting. And everything is in order with respect to this particular item. And the concern about the awning, then the cleanliness of the awning, that has been taken care of with a commitment by the current owner that that will continue to be maintained in a clean manner.
I'm glad they agreed to that. Councilor Frankie.
Just a question about in the future. Is the city going to have to buy this land back if we end up widening Front Street to accommodate turn lanes?
If you widen Front Street to accommodate turn lanes, you're going to have to consume part of Kasongwe Park, which I think is a much more difficult thing to do than to buy back 1,000 square feet of property. I wouldn't be concerned about that.
Any other discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yeah.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you.
All right. On to new business, Resolution 117, 2021.
A resolution providing for issuance of a construction over limit permit.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Patty, can we get Chief Massey in here for this next one?
Yes.
On this last one that you just voted on, be aware that Mary Ellen is going to be in touch with all of you because this requires that it be signed by the council.
Okay. Thank you for that, Steve.
Is that a state requirement? Is that a state requirement, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Ordinance number 118, 2021.
An ordinance providing for adoption of facial recognition ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
There is some discussion. Rick, you had some questions about some of the verbiage on this?
Yeah, I wish I had more energy after the night.
I'll be honest with you, this requires 2 votes. So I mean,
Yeah.
if you want.
So the verbiage that I have, and I don't know where even to direct this, is the term facial surveillance systems. Under Article 2, Part A, facial surveillance systems to me would mean any type of device that would just be a video camera only without computer software to identify this individual, okay? If I use that logic against Article 2, A and B, all we're doing is talking about cameras. That's it. No real facial recognition with identification behind it. So I think we need to clean that up, and Mayor, you and I had talked about that. Help me out here because it's getting late at night now. So we need to clean. I think we need to clean that verbiage up.
All right. Chief Massey, we've had plenty of discussions on this matter. You know my feelings on this. This is very much a civil liberties issue. I think you share some of those concerns with me, along with city manager. My goal here is not to hamstring the police department. I want to make sure that you are able to perform the functions of your job, that your men and women are able to essentially kick up any sort of image that you have to a state or federal agency so that they could run that scan for us. The goal here was to make sure that the citizens of Waterville understood that we were not going to passively collect data on them and store it in a database here in Waterville. Is that how you understood what we were doing?
Yes, it is, Mayor.
Okay.
And I think the current language in Section 2B makes that clear and restrictive of how we can use that facial recognition technology. And that's only if it's provided by another agency. As it stands right now, we typically submit a lot of evidence to state and federal agencies for analysis, such as DNA, fingerprinting, photo enhancement. So this is just another one of those systems that would be able to use that are owned and operated by other entities, both private and public.
Okay.
So we would not have any storage data or collection data here.
And we wouldn't be contracting with any sort of like Clearview AI or any sort of organization like that?
No.
Okay. Go ahead, Rick.
And I want further, and don't mean to be so direct, Chief, don't get me wrong. I want to make sure that we as a city of Waterville are not going to be in the business of buying cameras and computers and setting up things to start surveilling people, because that is not what America is built on. We are far from that. And I want to make sure that the verbiage in this is keeping the city of Waterville and its employees and blah, blah, blah from purchasing and using facial recognition software and cameras. Besides what you normally would do to identify a suspect in your normal line of work.
Well, I just want to make sure that we're clear when we're talking about surveillance cameras. We use that in investigations all the time. I think the facial recognition technology issue that is concerning about personal privacy and personal protections is that when you just arbitrarily monitor the public and then capture that data and put it in a database so you can later search again. We don't have that capability. We are not going to attain that capability. The ordinance, I think, clearly delineates that, and that if we need that type of service, then we'll get it from an agency that has the facial recognition technology.
And that's where kicking it up to the state and federal government or an entity like that would be able to do it for us. We're just not going to have that information. I mean, there will be a time that we're all talking about body cameras, and that will be a further discussion on what we're going to have to do with that data that's collected and how it's stored. And as long as it's not being added to an outside agency to their database, so that we want to make sure that we're protecting our Waterville residents, their liberties, their rights, without hindering your ability to do your job. You guys know how to keep us safe. It's what you do. But we want to make sure that we're doing it in a partnership that will protect the citizens of Waterville. And again, Rick, just in it being late, like I said, we can take a vote on this if you want to, and then send it back out to Bill Lee so that Bill can clean up the language for you. So that when we come back to vote on this next at the next council meeting, that'll all be cleaned up and spelled out in plain English.
I'm good with that.
Well,
Thank you, Chief.
In this particular case, there is no, like, we don't even necessarily have to take the first vote. I mean, it's not like the police are like, it's not like we're actively trying to stop them from go out and purchase this stuff by taking these votes. So in this case,
I agree.
there is no huge rush.
Yeah, no, I get that too.
Anyone else? Questions? Councilor Klepat.
You're muted, Tom.
Being mindful of time here, thanks, Chief. I really appreciate the conversation that we had a couple weeks ago, where you helped me understand this issue. We had a great discussion. I just want to be clear that the language, now that I've seen this here, the language that's here, in no way interferes with the ability of the police to have body cameras. However, it does apply to, in some way, to the usage of that footage. Is that correct? So the footage that would be captured by this by body cameras outside of application to a specific crime are not going. It is subject to the language that is in this this resolution or not. That was confusing. I didn't say it. It is.
The images that would be captured by body-worn cameras would be used for evidentiary purposes when we prepare our cases, present it to the district attorney's office and defense attorneys. That's what those images, that's what that video storage would be used for. We would not be putting it in some kind of database to make identifications.
Yeah, and so that was my question. That is, in that last sense, is how this resolution would interact with body. Does place that restriction on the use of that footage.
Well, just let me say that if in fact a body camera captured a suspect in the course of the officer's regular duties committing a crime, then we could take a still of that and again send that to another agency that has facial recognition software. But we would not have that ability to do that.
Yes, I understand that. It was in the latter sense that incidental images that are, as the word, arbitrarily captured with body camera are not, so outside of evidentiary purposes, are not to be used in this manner.
No.
Yeah,
that's true. Councilor Thomas.
I'm not sure if anybody saw this, but interestingly enough, there was a piece on 60 Minutes this past weekend about this entire issue. And if you didn't see it, maybe go back and watch it. The real issue here is when the computer mistakes somebody's identity, thinks that they're somebody they're not, and they end up in jail because of something the computer said. And so, and people should understand, I mean, for example, I don't know the law in Maine, but certainly in other places, if your digital license photo is in a database, and if a crime is committed, in some places they can run, an image that they've captured of you against their entire database of licenses. And so, there's more to this issue, I think, than even we've delved into. And I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole, given how late it is. But I'm sure you can probably go back and watch online or on demand or however. But it was an interesting piece on this particular issue.
But just let me say, there's no one piece of evidence by itself that would convict someone, whether that's DNA analysis, fingerprinting, trace evidence. It has to be supported with other evidence. The mere fact that you would have facial recognition identify someone, then the work would start to make sure that you have other information, other evidence to in fact support that. So it's not, you get an image identified as John Doe and you go out and make the arrest. So there's still a lot of work to be done. And just let me say, I'm an advocate of technology that allows us to operate more efficiently, especially in investigations of violent crimes against people. I think we owe it to the victims to do everything we can to identify and apprehend those who victimize them. And this is some of the technology that does that. But I understand the privacy concerns. So law enforcement is continuously weighing the benefits of this type of technology against the personal privacy rights of our citizens. And, I think we've come to, I think, a good place with this ordinance that will still allow us to use it. Because again, part of that healing process for victims is identifying who's responsible for victimizing. That's part of the healing process. And sometimes it's unfortunate that you can't use the technology to do that. But again, I understand the argument on the other side.
Chief, I'm going to let Rick Foss and Rebecca Green.
I'm going to offer a motion to table just for the fact that we can clean this language up and bring forward a good resolution that is just set in stone, and we don't have to worry about it ever again. So I'm going to table to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Sounds good, Rick. Steve Daly is saying something.
I need a second.
Mute, Steve.
I need a second on that, Mayor.
Oh,
just let Steve make his point first.
Yeah. A point of order on that: if you table this, then you'll have to vote on it 2 more times. If you vote on it tonight and all of these issues are cleaned up at the next meeting and you're still not comfortable with it, you can table it then, and then you have to vote on it just 1 more time.
Councilor Green.
There's no second.
I'll retract on Steve's information.
Thank you, Rick. Councilor Green, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something I heard about sending to public or private services, and I just wanted to hear from the chief regarding the sources that you would look to verify any images that you did want to identify. I guess
we would send. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, in other words, I would hope that they wouldn't go to private databases, that they would be strictly verified at the state level or federal.
Yes, we would always use another law enforcement agency as our first preference, because there's also always a chain of custody with this evidence as it travels as a photo to another agency. And for evidentiary purposes, it's much better if we stay within the law enforcement community to do that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, but these software packages are always also, I mean, they're services that are being contracted by whatever municipality. I mean, third parties are always going to be somehow involved in this, right?
It is. Other law enforcement agencies would be obtaining this software, be able to use it sometimes private vendors.
Yeah.
All right. Chief, again, I want to thank you for this. I know this is something I brought to your attention. We worked on this for quite a while. Councilor Foss and I have batted this back and forth discussing it. One of the few things we vehemently agree on, we are on this one. I appreciate everybody's comments. And everybody's right. There are things to be concerned about. 35% of women and minorities are misidentified. And we're going to stop we're at least going to stop that part here in Waterville. And still allow Chief to do his job with his men and women. But I will leave it up to you guys to move this forward. Patty, can I get a roll call?
Yes. Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yeah.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you, Chief. Sorry we kept you so late.
That's okay. Thank you, Council, Mayor.
Thanks, Chief.
Hi, Chief.
Good
Good
night.
news is you'll be first at the next meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. I've got Resolution 119, 2021.
A resolution providing for referral to the planning board.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I move to roll? Oh, Claude Frankie.
Well, just so that people watching at home, if there's anybody still awake, this is changes to the solar project out on Webb Road. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And are these major changes, or are they just tinkering with the borders?
They're just, so they were, I was at the meeting the other day, Claude, and all they're doing is they were putting it in one section, and instead of putting it in that section, they're going to put it, some of the panels in an opposite section of the property, which is actually further away from residents. So there'll be some extra buffers out there, and it'll make for an easier connection. And they won't be in the, even though where they originally intended to put it is a lot of pine, it's actually a lot of wetlands, which is uncharacteristic for the pines, but so they're going to move it over to make it easier for installation. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yep.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Resolution 120, 2021.
A resolution providing for appointing members to the Fair Hearing Authority.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Frankie.
Well, I just wondered what was the urgency that we had to waive cloture on this one?
There's actually a meeting. They have to do a fair hearing meeting, and they didn't have enough members. So in order to get that done so the appeals process could go through, we had to add a couple more members. So Rick, let your wife know she's due up.
Yeah, she's already on it.
All right. Any discussion? Oh, Councilor Green?
So do we have nominees? for
Yes,
this?
Paula Raymond and Anna Holdner.
Oh,
So I'll offer that as an amendment to insert their names. in the resolution.
I'll second that.
It's Anna Holzner, right?
Yes, Anna Holdner and Paula Raymond.
Right.
And I appreciate you ladies coming up, stepping up to the plate. It's great to see you guys help the city out.
So vote on the amendment.
Yep.
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
The vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Move as amended.
Second.
Roll call.
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yeah.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
And we have one more, but I don't see it on my sheet. It's Resolution 121, 2021.
Correct. Order 121-2021, in order to accept and appropriate grant funds for the Alpha Municipal Pool.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And this is the $1.2 million, Steve?
It's
2.1.
2.29.
Ooh. Which is going towards the pool.
Yes.
Any discussion? Councilor Frankie.
Does that finish up the expenditure on the pool? Is this the final stage of the pool?
Yes, sir. It's coming in 2 installments. The first installment has already arrived, and the second installment will follow as soon as the project is complete.
They're buying the water.
For $2.2 million.
From France.
It's all Evian, yeah.
Laced with gold. All right. Any further discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Klepak,
Yes.
Council Green,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie,
Yes.
Council Thomas.
Yes.
Vote is 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Call that the fountain of youth. I'm going to be the first one in it.
Well, it is before 10 o'clock, and it's, councilor updates. None? All right. Community notes.
Is there anybody awake?
Yeah.
I actually
Go ahead.
I do have some counselor notes that I don't know. Maybe I can wait. I'll wait till the next meeting. It's all right.
Patty, we have somebody waiting to come in.
Yes, we'll bring in Phil.
Hello. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Councilor. For my community note, I just wanted to say this, okay? Councilor restricting discussion from constituents because it is late and they are tired is completely inappropriate. I hear some of the councilor uttering such words like it's part of the Robert rules. You can stop a constituent from speaking. It's my time, Mr. Councilor, Mr. Chair. How ridiculous.
Actually, you only get 3 minutes, Phil.
You get 3 minutes, Phil, to talk. It's not a conversation. You get 3 minutes to make your point.
Yeah, it's my time, sir. Mr. Chair, it's my time. It's not a back and forth. This is my time. It's my 3 minutes. You're taking over. I'm reclaiming my time, please. Please, I'm reclaiming my time. Okay? This is not part of the Robert's rules. It's very ridiculous. Whether you disagree with someone or not, whether you had a long day or you're tired or sleepy or not, you still have to listen to constituents. Some of you are talking to constituents like you are the only one who are busy during the day or who woke up early today. How presumptuous. Thank you, Councilor Frankie, for attempting to answer my question. I know we don't usually agree on a lot of things, but at least you tried to answer my question. Some of you were perfectly fine with back and forth discussion when the previous mayor was there. Now, all of a sudden, it's inappropriate. How convenient. We had enough bullies who sat down on those chairs and who many of you were complaining about. But now look at you trying to do the same thing and restrict constituents from talking because you want to go to bed and you're tired. This is my time, Mr. Chair. Please. Okay? That's absolutely inappropriate. This is absolutely inappropriate and ridiculous. Again, why are we doing that, Mr. Chair? Why are we talking when I have my time? Why? Why are we doing that?
Do you want to let me respond, or is that a question? Or?
No, please. Why are you interjecting when I'm speaking? Can I have my 2 minutes? Can I? Okay? It's inappropriate, and that should not happen. It's your job to listen to constituents, whether you're tired, sleepy, or anything, because you're not the only one who have had the long day. None of you know what I did today or anybody did today. No one. being tired is not a reason to try to restrict people from speaking because you want to go to bed. Okay? Absolutely not. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
I would like to say that I've allowed you to speak multiple times. I didn't stop you from speaking. When you came back up again to speak for a second time on the same topic, I did not allow it. You were allowed one opportunity to come up and speak for 3 minutes. I let you come in right here. I didn't stop you from speaking. I brought you into this meeting, even here at the end. I didn't say anything about you not being able to come in. I alerted the panel that there was still somebody in the audience that wanted to speak.
And
what I
I'm
will
gonna-
say,
and what I'm going to say is that somebody who wants to be a leader in this community, first of all, Phil, what you did with implying that we deleted part of the last meeting without and throwing Chad under the bus, like who has nothing to do with any of this. He's trying to run a business and you attacked his integrity. That's called slander. And then to imply that somehow the AYC, because we're
Is this community note or is it
you going to let me talk now or what? Are you going to let me talk?
Now we
Are you
can
going to let me talk?
Patty, can you mute him, please?
Or is it now a community note? Is it a debate? Is it? Because if it is, I should be allowed to debate too, right? Is
Are you
it?
going to let me talk?
Thank you, Patty.
And to imply that there's some sort of kickback going on within a respected member of the city is completely inappropriate. If you want to know what's going on, you reached out to us, we explained what happened, and you still ran with this. Like, I don't know what you're doing, you know. If you want to be a leader in this community, perhaps you should respect people. And when we let people speak on an item, yes, we can allow back and forth, but at some point when they're just filibustering, then it's time to end the conversation. Because the way it really works, and we've had this discussion many times, on every item, each citizen gets to speak once. They get 3 minutes. It's not a back and forth. So, you know, that's just the fact of the matter. And frankly, I'm pretty sure everyone had heard enough from you at that point. And with that, I'm ready to end this meeting.
Well, I want to go on record and say that I'm not going to bed after this, and I'm going to play some PlayStation. So either way, I just want to let everybody know.
You playing some Fortnite? You gonna play some Fortnite?
No, I'm going to play the show, like this little MLB The Show tonight. So baseball
Nice.
season.
Enjoy.
Thank you, sir.
Do we get Flavia?
Yeah, and what I want to do is just I want to reach out to Phil because I am his city council. So I never had a conversation with him. So I would really like to have a conversation with him if there's any issues that he's having. You know, I'm here just in case he wants to talk.
I think he's not. I think he left. Oh no,
No,
he's
he's
up.
still here. He's
Still
just
there.
listening. All right, we gonna get? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
7
All
motions
right.
to adjourn.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good night.